Good morning, everyone. So today, the 3rd of May, makes a month that I started planting the little K trees out in the yard, and I thought I'd just give everyone a look at what they look like after a month in the yard and everything that has gone on. And I've just walked out this morning, and so thought I'd walk around and look at everything before I make it around to the other side. This is the turmeric here, and I had got the weeds cut from back on the edges of the ground cover here, the fabric. That's one of the hills of galanga that has made a little showing, and there's a few of the gingers back here. And this is my moringa. It stayed in the greenhouse in the winter, and so the weeds had come up pretty good, and I haven't taken the time to weed them with everything else that's been going on for me. Those two spots, I had the mulberry trees, two varieties, and I've got them now planted, one here and one back over there, and see how they come along. Being in the yard, I have rooted one of each. I've rooted more than that, but I still have one of each around on the other side of the greenhouse. And the little trees is doing pretty good in here. I'm pleased with the way they're looking. But that was what I had done here around the edges. I had serviced my push mower yesterday and the weed eater, and so I got it done first with the push mower and then came back and got it a little closer with the weed eater. And this is the turmeric that stayed out over the winter, and you can see the shoots here, the first ones that showed, but you can also see here and there 2 more shoots coming up. And then these were the old bulbs that were from years before that I had replanted, and I did them just in the pot by themselves so I could kind of get a better idea if they were actually coming back and producing every year. My lemongrass. The yucca mates are really doing good. And since I did the spray and grow the other day, the horseradishes come in out well. And I have the pots of garlic chives sitting around. I was able to share some of that. From the looks of that one, I must have missed watering him yesterday. Those are pink hibiscus, and they have come back really well. This was a pot that I had from last year, and it hasn't ever come back. So I don't know about it. And I was talking about rooting the other mulberries. This is my big tree that came up in some old city mulch that was piled over here. This used to be a dog yard here. Whenever I first moved in, I was raising Dobermans, and they were in here. I don't believe in putting animals on chains or having them in some little 10 by 10 deal. They had enough room in here, which originally it was all the way on back in there and went down by the shed and where that van is and in there. And I had goats, and so it was hard keeping it all cleaned up. I let the goats do the cleaning for me and closed the dog yard up. I decided they didn't need quite that much yard to run in, which once I got the fence up and everything, they were all over the yard. This is the other mulberries, one of each kind that I have there. And I got this mowed yesterday and cleaned up. And these are the little K trees. And don't know just why the leaves got deformed on this one. I've had a bug or two get into them, and I've sprayed, but it's an organic compound that I've been using, but it doesn't take care of grasshoppers. And I think that was a grasshopper that ate on that leaf and one or two of the others. But all of them have put on new growth and are getting fairly good color. This one had the most yellow to it, and it's still not as dark a green as I would like, but is looking fairly good. This weekend will be 4 weeks since the 6th was the day I started taking cuttings of April. So it's been almost a month now since I cut the tops off of these, and you can see the new growth that is coming on, so many of them. And up in here where it was so thick. Very pleased with the turnout, which that's part of what my intentions are today. Is I've got to mix up potting soil, and I've got so much better results using the perlite without the fertilizer that you get in that comes from Miracle Grow and all. Just the plain perlite. And down under there, that container, the green one, that's the ground coconut shell that I use, like the blocks over there. And this was a new one that I had got this time, or some time back, but I'm going to try it and see how it performs. And that's the mix that I do. It's 1 gallon pot of perlite, 1 of peat coconut, and 1 of peat moss. So that's just the mix. There's nothing in it, no fertilizer. Sometimes I will add some of the soil moist to it, and depends on what I'm potting up at the time as to how much I use and what I use of the soil moist. Walk out here to the front and see what the 22 out there look like. If you remember right, those that I just showed you back there are 14, and the 22 out here give me 36 planted around the yard. The wind's not up today and the humidity is high. We had some fog a little earlier, so that was one thing that slowed me down getting out. And anyway, the Confederate jasmine there just really has the whole yard smelling so sweet. In making tea, these camellias, I have never tried to make any tea, but this is the part that they use, is these little leaves, and some of the commercials and whatever you see the people picking the new growth leaves, and those few like that is what they pick. I think that's about the last flower. No, I see a few more over there. But some of them, like this, is already getting too big, I think, from the videos and the talking I've done with some folks. Use just the very new growth of it. This was another place out here. There was one or two that I've had a grasshopper or two out here, but for so many of them, and on this one, I think those are the two that I'd noticed the worst, unless something happened last night. But so many of them, they haven't even slowed down a bit about putting on new growth. So anyway, I'll just keep updating this every now and then so people can see, and especially come the fall of the year and into the winter, and we'll see what lives and what don't. I don't know if I'm gonna try to plant any more out, or it all depends. My oleanders, these are some I had rooted, God, must be 15 years ago now. And I wasn't watering them real regular, so I set them up under the tree here to kind of give them some shade so that the pots didn't dry out as bad. And they've rooted through the years down in. This gold, I think I have one other that's planted in the yard over in the little lot, but that's about it. Whenever it finishes flowering, I'm going to pull it down and see if I can root another one or two of them. The whites and reds and pinks I have quite a few of, so I'm not so much worrying about them, but I like to try to salvage what I can around and about from time to time. And with that, I'm going to get on to work. Everyone have a blessed day and a beautiful weekend.